as promised. Oh, Rebecca did call. Okay. Rebecca in Kansas City, where you're going to be. Is it Missouri or Kansas City, Kansas?
Missouri.
Rebecca.
Kansas City, Kansas.
Oh, Kansas. Okay. All right. Welcome to the Karen Hunter Show. Hi.
Hi. I feel I'm a white person. You can probably tell.
No, how could I tell that? Based on, like,
okay.
how?
I can tell people of color by their voice, and
How you can? I can't tell. Oh, wow. You got special magical powers, because I can't tell at the time who's black, who's not by a voice. Okay, Rebecca. And I'm curious again. Do you listen to the show, or you just tuned in for the first time today?
No, I don't listen to the show. I haven't heard your show before.
No, yay, because that's weird to me, right? On a Juneteenth, to never have heard of a show before. So how did you find this show?
Well, I had NPR on my radio. I like to listen to NPR, and I just turned on my car and your program came up.
On NPR?
Yeah, I don't think you were on NPR, but that's where I had my dial tuned to. And I don't know, maybe.
So somebody in the universe wanted you to tune in today, Rebecca. Because here's the thing, this show's been on the air. I'm going to have a conversation with you that I'm going to run. This show's been on the air almost 9 years. We have a particular way that we engage. We have a particular way in which we talk about topics. So for someone who has never heard the show before, just tuned in, listened to some snippets of a back and forth and felt compelled, what compelled you to pick up the phone to call?
Yeah, because, actually it's a little intimidating to call because I feel like there's a lot of divisiveness going on here, and there's been a lot of talk about white people.
Okay, so pause, because I knew you didn't listen, because in my world, there's so before we go, what does it mean to you to be white? What is white? You said I'm a white woman. What does that mean?
Well, okay, let me think about it a second. I haven't really thought about it.
What a privilege.
Well, yeah,
it's a privilege to not ever have to think about something that you identify with so strongly that you picked up the phone to call because you felt somehow there was some divisiveness. I don't engage in whiteness. This is a made up construct, right? It's a construct. It is a political construct. It is a power construct. So you're a human being, which is why when people call up as a white person, what does that mean to you? And if you got to be able to define that before we can have a conversation.
It means nothing more than that's who I am, and as a white person.
What does that mean, though?
Okay, so are you wanting me to say that I'm privileged?
No, I don't. No, I want you to tell me what it means to you to be white.
It doesn't mean anything to me.
So why do you identify with it? Why can't you just be Rebecca from Kansas City? Born of Irish heritage, I'm a nurse or I'm a teacher, I have 2 kids. My mom is from this. Why white? Why was that the first thing that you said out of your mouth?
Okay, if you'll give me a chance to talk. The reason why it's the first thing out of my mouth is because, and Dr. Black, I don't mean to be offensive, but I've heard so much of what you've been saying on the radio about white people. What
exactly? Like, no. Because again, the problem in this country is we just get to say things without self-examination, right? We're not children, right? So we should be able to tell me exactly what you heard that you felt was divisive.
Okay, well, let me go. Like you said, we don't just get to say things, and I
do though. It's the Karen Hunter Show. I get to say whatever I want. The show got my name on it, so I do get to say whatever. But I think I'm pretty thoughtful. Please tell me what was divisive about what Dr. Black said.
Because it sounds a lot like us and them. I love Black people. I have many Black friends, and I know that sounds racist. And I know that
it sounds out of touch, not racist, Rebecca. It doesn't sound racist. It sounds like you haven't spent a lot of time in your, reading and knowing stuff.
it sounds, that's the problem. We have to walk on eggshells with each other. Why can't we just love each other? All the Black women that I know, and men, because I know many, I love them. And one of my father figures was a Black man, and I loved him. He's dead now. I loved him tremendously. And I just keep hearing, it's like, yes, this is about June 16th. That is the topic of your program. And
June 16th?
I mean, it's like June 19th. I'm sorry. No, I'm not a Black person. I'm not part of your culture, but I love your culture.
But you are. There's no American culture without Black. So everything that you are is a direct result of all of the culture that was brought in those holds of the ships, from any seasoning that you may use, to the rice that you cook, to the music, any music you listen to with a guitar or a drum. And the point that I'm making is that for maybe 400 years, maybe longer, all of those contributions were diminished. Now we have a holiday commemorating the Emancipation Day, commemorating the last person enslaved in this country, and we can't have a conversation without having somebody be offended, which is interesting to me. And you still haven't defined what it means to be white.
Okay, what is it? Okay, let me walk through this within my own mind. What does it mean to be white?
How about do this? Think about it, and then call back, because I only have an hour and change more with Dr. Black, which is crazy. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about who told you were white. Why are you white? Because before, when did the term, I think we broke it down, like 1612 or 14 is when whiteness shows up in law, right? And it was to distinguish between these Black bodies that were coming. Absolutely. And the folk, and who had rights and who didn't. So it was, a made up construct, right? That you feel wedded to it, to the point when you can listen to this conversation and feel like we're talking about you, speaks volumes. And that's something you're going to have to sit with, Rebecca. And I'm going to invite you to do that, because we've been doing this work, and it is work, to have these conversations. It's difficult work. I don't want you to leave feeling like, someone's trying to, put something upon you, but this is where we are right now. The fact that we have a nation where people so strongly are wedded to this thing called whiteness is the problem, because as long as you are white, I'm Black, right? So I was waiting for you to ask me what makes me Black. Now, I will also add to that, I'm Black because I've made myself. In the midst of the trauma, in the midst of this criminal enterprise called America, I've had to make myself something new. What is it? Something torn and new? Is that the title of the book, Dr. Black? Let me give this to you, because you're the scholar. I don't know anything, and I don't find you angry at all. I find you passionate about freedom. I mean, this is a day that we're supposed to be celebrating freedom. Let's talk about it. When you hear Rebecca call in Kansas City, and I know she means everything that she's saying. I know she has good Black friends. I know she loves the Black people in her life. I know that she's not in her spirit lying about that. Yes. I also know that she hasn't spent a whole lot of time contemplating the constructs in this country, and right. why we even have race.
The first thing I want to say is that, Rebecca, I honor you. I really do. I honor you. And I honor you because of your willingness to call and to jump into this conversation. It is a thick conversation. It's a conversation, quite frankly, that America has needed to have for about 400 years. And it's one that we refuse to have, because the second white people relinquish the supposed privilege of whiteness, right, freedom can come. See, what's interesting is we always think of freedom in terms of Black people, but white people are in bondage also. White people are incarcerated also. And if freedom has got to be an American project, not a Black project, right? Because all we're doing, if we do that, is we're simply changing who the master gets to be the next time. And I don't want to be the master of white supremacy. I don't want my turn to diminish and demean white people. I don't want that. No, thank you. Because when you diminish someone else, you automatically diminish the self. And so I'm saying I honor you because I really do think it's important for all of us to be part of this conversation, right? The other thing that I want to just throw into the conversation is, and I'm teaching myself in this moment too, and I'm correcting myself. It is not a privilege. White supremacy is not a privilege. We keep saying these people are privileged. It is not a privilege to be in a position to demean and degrade. That's not a privilege. It's not a privilege to have more than you need. That is not a privilege. That is a social manipulation. It is not a privilege to have a house bigger than you need. That is not a privilege. In order for anybody to have excess, someone else has to have less, because the universe produces at the level of human need. The universe does not produce at the level of human excess. So if I have more, somebody else has to have less in order for that to be true.
You just took me to manna from heaven, the wilderness, the 40 years in the wilderness.
Oh, yeah.
Every day, the Hebrew Israelites, no, what the hell, Karen? Yeah, every day they would get up while they were in the wilderness, and there would be provisions.
That's right.
And then they complained about it, even though they had enough.
They had enough.
They had enough. When you said that for the first time, I was like, well, first of all, why would you complain? You're getting everything that you need. That's why you ain't get to the promised land, complaining ass people. Well, I'm like, I didn't put it in the framework of that. If I have more, that means someone has less. If we all thought, if I have more, then someone has less, we would think differently about our excesses, huh?
I'm gonna say it this way, Karen, when people really get it.
Whew.
That's why you don't look up in a tree and see a 3-tiered bird nest. You don't see a nest that's so grand. You see a nest that will simply hold the eggs. Because the real achievement of the world, the real achievement of humanity is that nature, God will provide enough. Our problem is that we want enough to be the assurance of tomorrow. That is not what enough is. Enough is when you run out today. You're supposed to run out today. You're supposed to run out of what you have today. That's why you go to sleep. You're supposed to run out of your daily supply of energy. You're supposed to do that.
And then take your ass to bed.
You go to sleep. Mm-hmm. That's right. You get rejuvenated for tomorrow. That's how you live with God. That's how you live in harmony with the universe. What we're trying to do is store up so that we can be assured of tomorrow and assured of next week. That's not the promise of God, and that's not the joy of living. The joy of living is watching how God provides tomorrow differently than God provided yesterday.
Always doing this, Dr. Black. Oh my goodness. And Rebecca, yes, thank you for calling. I would suggest though, because I don't know a situation where, even in a classroom, where I would raise my hand and chastise the professor without understanding the lesson first day of class. I don't know any place where you do that. So in many ways, we think more highly of ourselves than we ought. But let's go to Audrey and Callie, and thank you for calling quickly.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Oh, hi. Thanks for taking my call. It's a pleasure to talk to you and the doctor. I'm on my way to celebrate Juneteenth today. I'm 62 years old, and I live in Los Angeles, and I've never, ever heard of Juneteenth until maybe 10 years ago. And someone had mentioned it to me, and she was astonished that I didn't know anything about it. And I didn't. I was never taught Black history, this Juneteenth in my life. So I am honored. I did some research, and I'm going to keep researching to learn more about it and more about the Black history in depth. So my comment is about the comment that was made about the president's speech. And so I'm just, it's like we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. If the president had made the speech.
No, he needed to make a speech, but leave James Cleveland and choose your words, to your point. And Audrey, I don't know whether you're Black or white. I can't tell. No, I'm just like, I can't tell. Audrey, first of all, I am prone to messiness from time to time. It is my nature. I can't help it. I dance on that line in my mind, and sometimes it spills over out of the overflow of the heart. But let's talk about why I was troubled. Like, let's really break it down with not the speech. I'm glad President Biden made the speech. He needed to make the speech. I'm glad they had a celebration. They needed to do all that. I'm glad they honored Mother Opal. I know he's trying. I'm voting for him. I don't care if he's breathing, period. That said, I feel like those gatekeepers, the people that write these speeches, should have enough depth of history and knowledge to not put those words in the mouth of somebody who could not possibly manifest them. And they did him a disservice. So, and it's not something he would even think, because it sounds, it's a great song, and I'm sure it comes from something. Dr. Black is also a bit of a biblical scholar. So let's talk about why when we come back. The need to tell us that they had Black friends, which, but she immediately knew that there was a problem. She had stepped on something, but I'm not. So what she wanted to say was, I'm not racist because I know Black people. I have Black friends. But I want you to know, Rebecca, Black people can also have anti-Blackness because it's part of the system, which is whiteness, the system of whiteness. It is it's part of a power structure, right?
Absolutely. And if you're American, you're racist. Because the inheritance of them, it's like if you're American, you speak English. Racism is as ubiquitous as English. We're shaped in it. We're born in it. We are taught by it. Racism is our first instructor as American citizens. Racism teaches us how to see. It teaches us how to move. It teaches us how to define ourselves. It teaches us how to understand ourselves. It tells us who God is. Racism is the first instructor in America. And the only way to move out of that is one must be intentional and conscious one day. You first have to denounce racism as the teacher. The day must come where one says, racism, I will no longer sit under your tutelage. I will no longer accept your lessons. I don't want a degree from your school. Unless one does that, you are racism's captive.
Okay. President Biden evoking the great James Cleveland in a speech.
Please.
Again, yes. And again, I feel like there's some well-meaning folk. I don't think he's evil. I don't think he's trying to say something crazy. I don't think he's, but I just think this is part of the problem of this country is that, we know a little bit of something. And so therefore we think we know a lot. And it's arrogant at its core that to me, it's just arrogance that would allow for this, and nobody caught it because they don't know enough. And let me just throw this in here.
Please let me jump on this. And I was horrified for someone to put that text into Biden's mouth. Because what most people don't understand is in America, as in most cultures, there are things called sacred texts. Sacred text means those are texts that can be spoken of only by the folks who created that narrative. If I got up and said, oh my God, let me tell you about our time on the Trail of Tears, I'm out of order. I was not on the Trail of Tears. I can talk about the Trail of Tears, absolutely, because it's part of American culture. I cannot talk about it as if it is my narrative. It is not my narrative. That is stealing somebody else's story. When you put James Cleveland into Biden's mouth, right, you give Biden authorship of someone else's story. But the problem is that Biden's ancestors were the object of that narrative, not the subject. That's the problem. That's the problem. And it's got to be the authors who have the legitimacy to talk about the narratives. You can reference it. You can do that all day long. You cannot speak of it as if you own that narrative or as if it is part of your personal inheritance. Oh, I was horrified. I was like, oh my God, what?
It's like, is he quoting James Cleveland?